The flame flickered all too briefly. It was a tale of glory and of heartbreak. As war engulfed their homeland, Red Star Belgrade's football lit up Europe. A team of Croats and Serbs, Montenegrins, Macedonians and Bosnians defeated all comers. But the unity of the team was soon a memory amid the brutality and hatred that went on to destroy Yugoslavia. When Yugoslavia won the 1987 World Youth Championships in Chile, names such as Boban, Mijatovic, Suka and Prosinecki were heard by football fans across the world for the first time. The core of the team came from Croatia.
We were introduced as the kids who were going to succeed. A new generation who could really play. They really were special players. And this was the springboard for the careers they went on to enjoy.
Prosinecki was the player of the tournament, having just been released by Dinamo Zagreb.
Then Dinamo told me they didn't think I'd be the player they'd hoped for. So I ended up on trial at Red Star in 1987. And that was how I started my career.
Prosinecki had exceptional technique. In my opinion, he was one of the best in the world. He knew how to keep the ball at his feet and to dribble with it. Sometimes the older players like me and Dejan would shout at him or get angry, because sometimes he overdid it. But we knew he was that sort of player, so we didn't really mind.
At that time, Yugoslavia enjoyed a higher standard of living than much of the rest of the Eastern Bloc and boasted a strong domestic football league.
You see, the Yugoslav League was very strong back then, because they had a rule in place that until you were about 27 or 28, you were not allowed to go and play abroad. With that rule in place, Yugoslavia became a nursery for the development of great players, and it's no surprise the league was so strong.
All the teams were well organised, and in every team there were 2 or 3 players, great players, who could change a game.
Dragan Pixie Stojkovic was the best player in the country at the time.
He was a fantastic player, conducting the whole orchestra from midfield.
Another virtuoso performer was Dejan Savicevic, signed from FK Budućnost. He dovetailed perfectly with Stojkovic in midfield.
Dejan Savicevic, on his day, no one could stop him. You just had to give him the ball and trust him. But we all had great confidence in him.
Savicevic, 1-0.
He had creativity and imagination and a great shot. He was a fantastic passer of the ball, and we definitely worked very well together.
Also signed was the Cobra, Darko Panchev.
Panchev, 2-0.
A prolific striker at his previous club, FC Vadar, and the goal scoring continued in Belgrade.
I've played with so many great players and forwards, but he was the striker I always preferred to play with. He was always somehow there, and I always knew how to get the ball to him and how to set him up.
Darko Panchev was nicknamed the Cobra. He could attract the ball from anywhere on the pitch. He might have 5 players around him, but he would still get to the ball. He just had a sense for it.
He really was a goal-scoring machine.
He just seemed to score in every game.
A more controversial recruit was the Romanian sweeper Miodrag Belgrade.
When I was a child, my father took me to Belgrade once to see Red Star play. And when I got there and I saw the stadium and the supporters and the team playing, I just fell in love with them there and then.
A key part of the Steaua Bucharest team that lifted the 1986 European Cup, he arrived in Belgrade as a fugitive.
He came to Red Star from Romania with his mother and sister, fleeing from the Ceausescu regime. And along the Danube in Romania, there are a lot of Serbian villages. Belodedic was Serbian by descent, and because of the regime, he wanted to flee.
After completing a year's UEFA suspension imposed for leaving his Steaua contract, the sweeper impressed.
Mile, he was a great player. He and Ilya Najdovski were a perfect pairing. Ilya was sharp as a blade. He was not afraid to tackle, and Mile was a technical player who really knew how to play. In that generation and that team, all the players were great, and there was no division that someone was a Serb, the other player a Croat, or that one is from Macedonia. All of them were great players, and the atmosphere was superb. And if there was no such atmosphere, we wouldn't have been able to achieve what we did. I played in teams with great players, but the atmosphere was not as good, and we achieved nothing. Other teams I've played in were the opposite. We succeeded more because of the spirit.
This spirit ran throughout the squad. Stefan Stojanovic graduated from the youth ranks to become first-choice goalkeeper and captain. At left-back, Montenegrin Slobodan Marovic was a mainstay, while on the other flank, a Bosnian Refik Ševanović was another vital player.
Yes, we had Jugovic, Mihailovic, Prosinecki and Šabanovic. With these players, of course, we reigned supreme in the Yugoslav League. They were great technical players, and when they got possession of the ball, well, you could rest assured there was no way they were going to lose it.
In 1990, with Panchev scoring 25 goals in just 32 games, Red Star comfortably won the Yugoslav League. They finished 11 points clear of Dinamo Zagreb. But football was not immune from the changes taking place in the Balkans. Throughout the 1980s, since Marshal Tito's death, the ties that bound Yugoslavia together had been unraveling. And in April 1990, Croatian elections saw pro-independence candidate Franjo Tudjman elected as leader. This put the Croatians in direct opposition to the centralist aspirations of Serbia's leader Slobodan Milosevic. As Red Star were assembling their perfect team, their country was falling apart. Centuries of ethnic and religious tensions came to the fore and erupted dreadfully. On May 13th, 1990, Red Star's ultras, the Deja, clashed with Dinamo's Bad Blue Boys in Zagreb's Maksimir Stadium. A full-scale riot ensued and over 70 people were injured. Zvonimir Boban gained hero status in Croatia after kicking a policeman who was assaulting a Dinamo fan. Unsurprisingly, Croatian teams would soon leave the Yugoslav League.
It was terrible. There was an angry mob there, yelling and throwing stones, shouting at us, and they managed to knock down a fence. And then when we saw that, well, we just ran inside and got into the dressing room, and we stayed there for a good 2.5 hours. And that was it. That was all that happened in the game. We feared for our lives because of those fans. I mean, that game still haunts me, even today.
Commemorated by a monument outside the Maksimir, This clash is seen by many as the first of a war in which fans of both clubs would become bloodily embroiled.